Okay, welcome, listeners. We have a very special person here. We're very excited. Adrienne Palmer in the podcast studio live.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Very happy to be here.
We are very excited to have you and learn a little bit about you, what you're doing at DTF.com, and really explore direct-to-film printing and what's going on, because it is a hot topic.
I feel like our credibility, like our media credentials have gone up like enormously. Like we have an actual journalist in this room. It's not just two random jamokes. So I think we're going to learn more about podcasting than we are about DTF. And that's a high bar because you know a lot about DTF.
It's actually part of the master plan.
That's why I'm here. CAC.
Yeah. Do you want to host this podcast, please?
So prior to DTF.com, you spent over 10 years in the industry at Big Picture Magazine, Screen Print Magazine. Your whole career has really been spent in the press, or what would you call it?
Yeah, so I went to school for magazine journalism and got a job with Big Picture Magazine right out of college. Didn't know anything about wide format digital print. Worked my way up to editor-in-chief. There was some restructuring in the company, and I took on Screen Printing Magazine as well. And it was always the sister publication that I was aware of but didn't really know much about. But then I hopped into the apparel side, and I was like, oh, this is awesome.
It's like the fun side.
It's like people are so cool and welcoming. Not that wide format wasn't that way, but it was just another sector of the print space that I definitely wanted to be a part of. It would have been 11 years in November that if I would have stayed with Big Picture and screen printing. And I joke that I'm an anti-millennial because that's pretty wild for someone to stay like post-college for that long. But it was definitely time for a change. And so when Andy McDaniel of DTF Superstore reached out to me earlier this year, said, I bought DTF.com, which is crazy, a 3-letter URL.
How's that even available? That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, definitely people are interested in it now, even more than probably when he bought it. And so it's like this new technology in the apparel space that I love so much. It just seemed like a really good fit. Also, that I could start something from the ground up. Like it's whatever I want this to look like that I think will be beneficial to the audience, like I can do. And so I started in August and we launched the day before Printing United in October. That was my goal. I want to have this site launched before Printing United. And it's like 5 p.m. the night before. I'm getting ready to go to like a Roland pre-party event. I'm like, press send to the email. Let's do it. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool. And you went to Ohio University's Scripps School of Journalism?
Yes, I did.
Did you, fun fact, inventor of Monopoly.
It was E.W. Scripps.
Yeah. Was
the inventor of Monopoly.
Yeah.
Or maybe he held a patent for it?
I can't remember.
No. We made that up.
Yeah.
So. But a really cool accomplishment we didn't make up, 2019 Folio Top Women in Media Award, sitting right here next to you.
Wow.
Didn't invent Monopoly, but...
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool. Folio is a magazine for people in the magazine space. So there's a magazine for everything, literally, as we know.
Yeah. Magazine about magazines.
Yeah, it's a magazine about magazines, and they award top women in media each year, and I won that. I had a team of women at the time, and they nominated me, and I got to travel to New York City to win the award, and it was really special. I was there with people from Adweek, ESPN. It was a really great experience.
That's cool.
That's awesome. And I know on your website, it talks about water, wine, and wide format prints as being things you're into, the 3 W's. So speaking of travel, do you have a favorite city?
Oh my gosh. That's so funny. You're really doing your research. Was that maybe on my AP Speaks? Just going to plug it, apspeaks.com. Yes, I made a website in COVID for speaking engagements. And it's like, no speaking engagements were happening at the time, but that website does exist, and that's funny. Yeah. Favorite place to travel, that's tough. I love traveling to Europe, and I would love to spend more time in Lake Como. I just felt like that was such a special place. But I enjoy traveling anywhere and everywhere. And this job is so great because, as you guys know, we're traveling all the time and getting to check out different cities and culture and food, as we've discussed, is a big part of that. So, yeah. And wine. I mean, I did live in San Francisco, and Napa was just
right there.
Yeah, stone's throw away. So that was nice.
Well, is there do you have a favorite wine or region? Is Napa the spot?
Yeah, I mean, I was just in Austria and did a bike tour through Wachau Valley wine region, and that was pretty amazing. And I'm not that big of a white wine fan. I'm more red, but that was pretty special. But no, I'm not like a wine snob or anything. I don't,
Well, that's disappointing.
Sorry.
All right. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about DTF.com?
Yeah. Why don't we? I think so. We have a lot of customers that have a broad understanding of different parts of the industry. And I think there's some that are like, oh, DTF, that's really cool. I want to learn more about that. And then we probably have some that are like, well, what is DTF printing? So maybe we just start right at the bottom of like, what is DTF printing? And then maybe what is it that DTF.com is trying to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, DTF, direct-to-film printing, is very much in its infancy. Started really in 2021 and then started to get mainstream in 2022. So for printing, especially when you're looking at screen printing, that's been around since the beginning of time. Digital printing in wide format, in the 90s, that has some legs. So DTF is brand new. And so maybe a lot of my answers, today will be like, well, it depends, or we're not sure yet. Yeah. But that's kind of the fun of it. And so you're printing onto a transfer and then heat pressing that onto apparel. And some of the benefits with DTF would be the versatility. So you're able to DTF onto just a variety of substrates and blanks as opposed to DTG. There's more constraints there. Also, in terms of color, you can just max out on color, whereas with screen printing and DTG, there's some limits there. Yeah. And so being able to have as many colors, especially from a designer standpoint or a customer standpoint, that's really great. And then just even in the process, so short runs, if you just wanted to print one shirt for an event or, to prototype something, then you can do that with DTF instead of having to, now I have to burn a screen. It's a whole process that just costs a ton of money and time. So people are really leaning into DTF for those reasons.
Yeah. And I mean, we can't go anywhere without seeing people talking about it and, demoing it at all the trade shows. It's new and it's fresh and you see it everywhere. And I'm sure it's exciting to be taking on this role that's like, there's not always a whole lot of brand new things in our industry. Like it's kind of iterative, right? Things kind of get better and better and better, but this is actually like a brand new type thing.
Yeah. I know. I was at ISA and it didn't have anything to do with the trade show. The trade show was great in the spring, but there wasn't really anything new on the side. And this is when I was still with Big Picture. And I just felt like, okay, maybe, things are coming out, but it's really just like another version of this. And then when DTF, I was like, oh, this is something new. And I thought maybe I was just a little bit biased or maybe people were just talking to me about it at Printing United. But then, because we had just launched, but when I started to talk to more people, it's like, no. Like, this is the thing. This is what everyone's talking about. And it's not a fad, which was a little bit of a concern when I moved over to DTF.com from two very well-established brands. One, this is brand new and it's a brand new tech. Is it just going to go away in a couple years? And that is not the case, in my opinion, and in opinions of others too.
Yeah.
So we felt at the beginning of DTF was 2021, getting popular in 2022. I mean, so who made the first DTF print? Is there like a person that's credited with I did it?
Probably. I don't know that. A lot of manufacturing was happening in China. And so a lot of people were, either just ordering from China, transfers, and doing it out of house and outsourcing, and then starting to bring some of those machines over. But there was so much problems with the technology aspect of it and the customer service. And so you're buying a machine from a Chinese manufacturer, it's coming over, it's maybe not the setup, you don't have the history because you're just screen printing and some of the technical stuff isn't there. And then the customer service is just completely lacking. Either you're never going to hear from someone or it's in the middle of the night. So definitely Chinese manufacturing is where it started, but I don't know in terms of who that was.
The powder had to, like someone had to be making powder for something and think I'm going to.
Yeah.
Someone's going to, if no one's going to claim it, like maybe I did it.
Yeah. If you're watching this podcast and you started DTF, let us know so we can give you
and
credit.
I'm sorry
We'd love to have you on.
if it's you and I don't know. Let's talk.
But for now, it's me. I actually am claiming it until someone can prove they did.
That's funny.
All right. So we've solved that problem.
So the mission, so DTF.com, for our listeners, you aren't selling anything. You have said it's more like an education. Like this is something, it's brand new. If it's going to take off, people need to be educated and know what it is, how to do it. So tell us a little bit about how you're going about trying to educate and.
Yeah, it's a total resource for anyone. And that can be whether you're just starting out or someone who's running 3 machines, 24/7. So we have a website, a weekly newsletter, and then a podcast that comes out every other week. It's DTF Printing Podcast. And the website has news, anything that's trending within the industry, new products, shop profiles. So people who are doing this, sharing, kind of their transition into DTF, the challenges, the benefits, their customers, unique things that they're doing, exclusive videos, so how-tos, and then we have a whole section on DTF basics. So if you're brand new, you can come to the site and really start from scratch and be like, okay, this is what I do, this is how I buy, or why should I buy? Should I buy? When should I buy? So really anything that will help grow your business in this space, we are that hub for you. And the newsletter is, pushing out all that content each week. And then the podcast, I'm interviewing businesses that are either outsourcing DTF, have brought it in-house, are just selling transfers, because that's a big thing too. They're not actually heat pressing anything. They're just shipping out transfers to people who don't want to or have the capabilities to do so. So the market, even though it's so brand new, there's all these different routes you can take if you want to be involved. You don't have to bring equipment in-house, and you also don't necessarily have to buy it from overseas, because there are more people locally printing transfers all day, every day.
Yeah. Do you find that people, you're interviewing business owners, do you find that they're open about, because a lot of it is still like trial and error. People are trying to figure things out. Are they open to share, like, here's the places we've had success? And
yeah, almost to a fault, I think. Yeah. People are not afraid to say, like, I had this machine, it was horrible. Don't get it, because I think, especially in the apparel industry, there's not so much competition because there's so much out there that they want people to succeed. And they also, I think in the apparel industry, a lot of people want to kind of be these brand ambassadors, and they're looking for ways to promote their company as almost educational resources as well. So from my experience, everyone's very much willing to say, this worked for me, this didn't work, and also have honest conversations about, if you're printing this many transfers a month, maybe now it's time to consider bringing in-house. But there's so many variables to that, whether you have the staff, whether you're able to train, whether you have a technical background for digital print, whether you have the environment, the space for it, whether you have the customers. It's not necessarily just one thing, like, oh, I'm printing a lot of transfers, it's time to bring something in-house.
Right.
I wonder why now? Like, the tech itself doesn't seem that advanced. So, why 2021? Like, I could see if it was like 2006 or something, and it's like, wow, look at this thing. But it just feels like it's not that advanced of a process. And I'm just like, what was so broken that
But sometimes it's not just broken, it's that you can get better. And I think a lot of what you said about the versatility, being able to choose the substrate that it's going to go on after the fact, being able to even the fact that you can buy a transfer is crazy. Like that doesn't work with any other part of the industry, really, right? Like the substrate is you're buying whatever it's been printed to. And in this case, you have that flexibility to be able to apply it wherever, whenever, however. There's like just a whole lot of flexibility, I think.
Yeah, getting something onto any garment, I think, was always a thing. And then you had on the direct-to-garment side, there was pre-treat, and is it cotton, polyester? What's the blend? Does the ink adhere to it? And then I think on the other side, you had the heat transfer vinyl, and then there was the weeding, and it's just
and the
musings.
Quality aspect too.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe you can DTG on a poly, and okay, but does it look good? But from what we're experiencing with DTF, and of course, there's always troubleshooting, there's always testing and figuring it out, but it seems like the quality is there. You're not going to be embarrassed giving that. And at the end of the day, from what I'm hearing from shop owners, that the customer doesn't really care. They want to know the price point, they want to know the turnaround time, and they want to see the quality. And they don't care if it's DTF, DTG, screen print, like they just want it the way that they want it.
I want a shirt that looks good and has my brand on it. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think is like the biggest DTF challenge today? You know, you were talking about, manufacturer support and where did I buy it from, or, is that the biggest challenge, or? Yeah,
well, I think that's going to really change in the next couple of years, because we're seeing Mamaki, Roland, these household names come out with products that people are really liking. And they're happy with the quality, they're happy with the turnaround time, but the technical aspect of it, I think, is very challenging. And if you don't have that mindset, or if you don't have someone on staff that's going to be able to troubleshoot and figure something out, then you're going to have to wait on a rep to come out. But it is nicer with the US-based companies. They're going to answer your call, and they can send someone out, or Zoom or something. But I was talking to Stephen Farrig with Campus Inc. They're running 3 Mamaki DTFs at least now. And he said, I don't care if they are slow as long as they're running. Like, just run. Because with former machines that he had, they were just breaking down all the time, and nobody has time for that. And it's just interesting. I also interviewed someone, Denise Bayer. She just prints transfers. So she has some stuff that she'll do on the side, but she's really just printing transfers. And she doesn't come from the print side at all, but she comes from more of a technical side. And so she understands how these machines run, and she's able to figure it out on the spot. But when you don't have that, it's tough. But I think that will change in the next couple years, because I think the technology will advance, and more companies that we see on a regular basis will have machines that
and then it'll be all about speed and ink price and all the typical life cycle.
Become more mature. Yeah. It's like anything where you're early to it, or you want to be an early adopter. There's pain, and you have to be more technical, and you have to be more, I don't know. So I was thinking about Bitcoin, right? So you see these people who, like, back in 2011 had Bitcoin, and it's worth, billions of dollars now. But back then, like, there was nowhere to even buy a Bitcoin. You had to, like, have a computer. You had to mine it yourself. You had to, like, there's just a whole lot of technical challenge. And then you look to where it's evolved, and now it's 12 or 15 years in, and now people are like, oh, it wouldn't have been amazing to have Bitcoin 15 years ago. Well, there's a whole lot to it. And then it's kind of evolved into a mature-ish market. I don't know why that's on my mind. Probably because Bitcoin's, like, back, baby. But it's like something super, if you're going to be on the cutting edge, it's going to be hard, and there's some challenges, but you get the fruits of being early and figuring things out. And then when it is mature, you get those fruits, that full circle.
Yes.
You want some Bitcoin?
Oh boy.
Let's move on from
episode.
that. That's another episode.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. Do we, feel like there's even broader applications for DTF printing? in the market?
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, there's the versatility there. I know, I'm familiar specifically with this, like DTF Superstore, who Andy McDaniel purchased DTF.com for me to grow. When I first started, I was just watching their videos, and they're like, can you print on a DTF on a mouse pad? Can you DTF a swimsuit? Can you DTF? They just like test stuff all the time. And it's like, oh, yes, you can. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty cool. But then we were talking a little bit about like UV DTF, you know, on hard surfaces. And, you know, I don't know like as much about that as I've just like dived into DTF for apparel. But I think people, like I was talking to Kevin Oakley of Stoked on Printing. He was really interested. He has DTF for apparel in-house. And he was like, can you connect me with someone who has UV DTF? I want to talk about that. But then, you know, you were saying like, it's the same, but it's different.
It is, yeah.
So it's not like that direct connection, but I think it's opening up more doors for people to try new things, which is what this industry is all about. You can't get stagnant.
Yeah. And I think it's the same type of person that's willing to put in the work to figure out DTF is willing to put in the work to figure out DTUV or whatever we're going to end up calling that, right? It's like, it's that same kind of ingenuity and willing to tinker and figure it out. Yeah.
Yes.
I've also found that people are able to put images into like unique spots on a garment or a hat or something that they couldn't maybe. It would be very difficult to put something on the side of a hat using maybe a direct-to-garment printer or inside the back of a shirt or something like that. So that was like another advantage when you talk about the versatility, not only of the substrates you're putting it on, but like the location and how you're trying to apply that image.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we were talking about, because you mentioned what are the challenges. One of the challenges I think is kind of this idea, right or wrong, that maybe DTF isn't safe. And I know you were saying you've written an article here recently about that. So what do you do you see that as a challenge, a hurdle?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to be discussing it. But as I mentioned, like right now, there are more questions than answers. And I'm getting those questions. Should my employees be wearing a mask? What should I do to combat the issues that the powder, you know, is releasing into the air? It's toxic. And so the hard answer to that is yes, it is toxic. So you do need a well-ventilated area. Your staff members can wear masks, but it's not necessary if you have this well-ventilated space. So before you bring DTF in-house, there's, again, the variables that you have to look into, but you have to make sure you have an environment for it and you're doing your research before. So Kim Johnson, she has the new Epson Hybrid. She has a home office. I mean, her shop is in her upstairs space and she's totally changed it. You know, that's way different than Kevin Oakley, who I just mentioned, who is a full screen printing shop who's now brought DTF in. He's used to those environmental things like safety and hazards. And so, you know, when you combine the two, which DTF is that range, you've got the smaller shops who are maybe Cricut, you know, stores, Etsy, and now they're bringing in a machine. And then you have the big companies who are kind of used to it, but they're both dealing with the same thing. But it's important to do your research, and more information will come out about the health and safety. Make sure your environment is correct. And then you can also do things like get Ecotech's, you know, passport certified, making sure the products that you're buying are certified in that space specific to textile and apparel. And then you can kind of show that to your customer, saying like, I am taking the proper steps for this to be safe, not only for us in our environment, but the end product.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's definitely something we have to talk about, and I think it's going to evolve, and there will be more testing, and I'm sure we'll have more parameters around like, well, this is how you should run it. This is what your environment should look like. I don't know if you guys have you guys put out any kind of like, you know, this kind of air, this is how much you have to turn the air or anything like that, or is there a...
We haven't yet, but that's definitely on my list of things that are important to me in terms of like that DTF basics section. Like it's not just how is the machine running, it's like really getting into that aspect of it too. So it's on the list to cover for sure.
That will be super helpful to dealers like us too, because we don't want to put people at harm, and we want to be able to say like, well, here's some maybe you want to put people at harm, but I don't want to put people at harm.
No, I actually just bought the website turntheair.com. And so it'll be a resource for everyone for turning the air.
Yeah. What is it? Isn't that what you say? CFM
no, you're right, but I just had an idea.
Yeah,
so that's mine.
Turn the air.
I invented DTF and I own
turntheair.com. Awesome.
And you started Monopoly, or wait, was that someone
BW
else?
Scripts. Yeah.
All right. So if there's a print shop out there, they're listening right now and they're like, okay, I want to do something. What would be like your advice for a print shop? You know, I see it. I'm ready to maybe adopt it or take that first step. Like, so what do you want me to do?
I mean, you need to look at your customer base, and your output. Again, your environment. Do you have space for it? I mean, I think like maybe the best stepping stone would be buy a heat press, buy transfers for someone else, test that out. Are you happy with the quality? Are you okay with this? And then see how much, revenue you're making, see how many transfers you're buying each month. Like if you were buying, like $1 million with like Supacolor a year, like maybe it's time. But Max Hellman of Family Industries is doing that, spending $1 million with Supacolor a year, and they're not bringing DTF in-house. So I hate to be like such like a psychologist answer. Oh, it depends, but it really does. Like it really.
How do you feel?
Yes, like
you should follow your heart.
Exactly, but it depends on what you want to do and what you're capable of doing, and just all the different variables that go into that. But it's much more easier now to bring in-house because of the manufacturers that are not coming out with machines.
Yeah. I do like that idea of testing the waters with buying transferred DTF transfers, right? And then kind of find out which of your products it transfers well to.
Mm-hmm. And also seeing, like, do you have the staff for it? And are you able to train your current staff who are maybe screen printing? Can you train them in this? Do you have the time? Do you have the money? So you have to look at all of that as well.
What skills do you think a print shop owner would need to have or like acquire to be successful? Are there additional skills that maybe they don't have today? Or do you think it's fundamentally the same stuff they're using to run their business? I mean, you have to get the recipe right. We've talked about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really that technical interest and skill level. I mean, you can hire someone to do that if that's not your bread and butter, but someone in the business needs to have that because we're not working with digital. Like digital printing is so much different than just screen printing. And so the same as though if you didn't know anything about screen printing, you have to go through a whole training process and you have to continue to be educated in that space. But you also have to know, water-based inks. Like maybe you weren't doing that with your screen printing setup. So it's really just like willing to be educated and also have that interest on the technical level or hiring someone who can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What she said. Totally agree. I think that's on our, like as someone who's trying to sell DTF and DTF supplies, like we're trying to keep up with how do we be a technical resource? Mm-hmm. And to do that, you have to have your hands in it and be testing and trying.
Right.
But there's no, like you can't put that customer, if you're going to do it well as a customer, you have to take that responsibility on yourself as well as like, I'm responsible for how this is going to turn out. And I'm willing to test it and put in the work and trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going to say there's so many ways to educate yourself, and it doesn't just have to be like you're in the machine trying to figure it out yourself. You can come to DTF.com, you can listen to podcasts. There are a lot of people out there who are willing to share their experience on their own YouTube channels, go to trade shows, talk to people. I was in a NASMA board meeting about a month ago, and like 90% of the conversation was DTF. Printing United. Yep. Again, everyone's talking about DTF. So make sure you're going to events and shows and connecting with people and talking to them. Like, have you brought this in-house? How's it worked for you? It's not going to be the same situation as yourself, but at least you can get some ideas. So I don't go into this blindly. It's new, but there's enough information out there and enough people who are doing it that you can become very educated on it before you completely dive in.
Would you say there's a trade show coming up in February that people should attend if they're interested in DTF printing?
Wow. Yes, there is. Yes. So we are hosting DTF Expo in Phoenix, February 23rd through 24th. It is completely free to vendors and attendees, and it is everything DTF. So we'll have vendors, Mamaki, Roland, M&R, Rock US, Supacolor, Inktavo, SNS Activewear, Graphic Source, the list goes on. Embellisher will be there. We have some really great vendors that you can actually like speak to someone on a smaller level, instead of going to Printing United, or which you should go to Printing United and you should go to Impressions. But this is specific to DTF. And then we'll have educational sessions both days. I'm hosting a panel. Stephen Farrig from Campus Inc. will be speaking about his journey with DTF. Marshall Atkinson is talking about Mid-Journey, using that for your design process. We have shop owners who will be there. Sergio Ramirez will be there from Supacolor talking about content creation specific to a DTF business. It's going to be a great show, and it's free. Yeah. It's free. So there's, no reason to not want to be in Phoenix in February and learn all things DTF.
If there's additional space at the trade show, do you think we could build a pickleball court?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Like, think about that.
I would love it.
We could get sponsors on the floor.
Absolutely. I would not be at the trade show.
Think about that. Pickleball.
These two have been talking about pickleball nonstop before the camera started.
I played for 2 hours last night, and I'm like, my body hurts right now, but I want to play more. Yes.
There you go. So we're talking all the positives, but I think it's like not fair to only talk the positives. So there's a huge market out there for direct-to-garment printing and screen printing. So there has to be situations where those still make more sense. What are those?
Screen printing is not going away. Yeah. I don't really know what's going on with DTG right now just because of this infiltration of DTF, but screen printing is not going away. And most companies I'm talking to they're apparel decorators, and they have screen printing in-house, and now they've added DTF in some way, shape, or form. You can DTF 1,000 shirts, but you're most likely going to still screen print those. So really, it just depends. Like, what's great for a business owner is they get to decide when they get an order in, what's this going to be? Mm-hmm. What's going to be better for me and my team? What do we have time for? What's the environment? Is it really hot today? Like, we can kind of decide what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And they also can bring on more clients. Like, if you have someone who's like, oh, I need 5 shirts this weekend, or, you've got a school team, and one mom forgot to print her shirts, and it's like, well, we've already done the run. It's like, no, you can DTF that. Right. So screen printing's not going away. It's just a wonderful addition to your business.
I wonder too, sometimes like there's vintage t-shirts, so you get that vintage look, and like, sometimes DTF's so good, or the color is so like
clarity. Yeah.
The clarity, like it would probably be hard to get that vintage look if that was your business. Sure. Is like a vintage shirt. And then I also think about if I know that the image is going on 200 gray shirts and I have the order ahead of time, versus a lot of people are printing these transfers and they're like, well, I don't know what color shirt someone's going to pick, but they want this design. I mean, there's different business models that it could make sense. So like, I think like you said, you have to understand your business, your ability, who your customers are.
Yeah. Yeah. If your whole business now is just online stores, I mean, it's a little bit different than, print on demand, but most people just have these online stores. It's like, okay, here's five designs and 10 different shirts or a hat or whatever. And then we'll get that order, and that's what we'll print, and here's the deadline. And I think it's really grown for a lot of people who work for local schools or sports teams. Like, that community aspect has really grown with DTF too.
Yeah, it's just another tool in the toolbox. It's like not every job is a little different, and now having something that can approach the customer needs a little differently is it's only good.
Yeah, you don't want to say no every time.
Right.
But, I met someone in Impressions last year, a smaller shop, and he's like, oh, I just bought a machine because one customer asked for this. And I was like, whoa. Did you have other customers? Like, he's like, no, and now I don't know what to do. I bought it. It's like, oh my gosh, don't do that. But like with DTF, you have a little bit more like flexibility with even if you're just buying transfers and heat pressing them or even outsourcing. But it's like finding that balance without having to say yes to everything if you don't have those capabilities, but then like still being that one-stop shop and not having to turn away everyone when you have the option to say yes.
It's nice that you can scale into DTF pretty conservatively too, right? Like if people want to start flatbed printing with a UV flatbed printer, like you kind of have to jump in with both feet, and it's an investment. And with DTF, you can do it for $1,000, $2,000. You can kind of test the market and scale as it grows.
Absolutely.
Any more DTF questions, Andrew?
I think there's more questions than answers, like you said, Adrienne. Like it's so early, and we don't even know the right questions to be asking. I think in some sense, like we're going to see this thing, it's on its course, and it's going to keep growing, and we just kind of are along for the ride to see how people start to use the technology and who does it well and where it fits. So no, I do not have any more questions right now.
You rest your case?
I rest my case.
All right. We thought it'd be fun if we did a little rapid fire round of 10 questions, completely random. Adrienne has never seen these. I will do the even questions. Andy, you do the odd questions.
Okay.
Are you nervous?
I mean, a little bit.
Man, here we go.
Of course you gave me this question. Favorite sport?
Oh, man. Well, I know I have a fellow pickleball lover here. My favorite sport is tennis.
Okay.
I grew up playing tennis, and I really don't watch sports, but I will watch tennis, and I like to, I don't really keep up with it that much, but I love playing it. So, And now pickleball, of course, is taking my heart.
And that wraps things up. All right. Drive yourself or sit shotgun?
Sit shotgun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like these questions. I feel like you took even on for all right.
Sit shotgun because I can do work, and that's bad. Like
No.
if I get in an Uber, then it's like, oh great, I can like catch up on some emails and do.
I feel like in groups, there's like the people that drive and the people that sit.
Yeah.
Do you
passenger princess? Is that what I am?
Does your wife drive you around often?
She is from the country, a town that doesn't have even stoplights. So she doesn't ever want to drive because this is just too chaotic.
Yeah.
So I'm always driving.
Yeah. And my dad was always driving when I was growing up, and I always drive now. So I don't know if I have like a hidden, like underneath, I think less of, I don't know if there's something inside of me that's like men should drive, which is so like, I'm saying it out loud and I'm like, this is horrible, but it's just like how it's always been.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom drives mostly. But I think she just like likes to drive. Yeah. And my dad's like, all right, whatever.
It probably it has a lot to do with your like origin, your history, family history. Like how did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But my dad loves to drive, but when we're all together, like my mom. Driving. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about it.
Yeah. I didn't really either until we have a microphone on and I could say something terrible.
Yeah. Right.
So Andy Mom. Hates the question. So I'll take odds then.
Okay.
If you got a problem.
Let's see. Okay. Yeah.
Christmas decorations, are they allowed in your house before Thanksgiving?
No.
Music? Christmas music?
No. You got to get to Thanksgiving and then you can enjoy. Like, enjoy Thanksgiving. Why rush it?
I agree.
Eventually, you have to take a question.
I don't like. Can I? All right. Beach or pool? Would you rather be at the beach or the pool?
Pool with beach views.
Favorite place you've been outside of the U.S.?
Oh, well, I mean, I did say Litcomb. I would say Croatia. I really love Croatia.
Tony Kukoc, Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
Vintage. Go ahead.
Okay.
Andy, question number 6.
Is pickleball America's last hope?
Oh my gosh. How are we? We've talked about pickleball 3 times.
This is now you understand why I want you to be the host of this podcast.
Oh my gosh. Am I supposed to answer the question?
Don't answer it. Question 7.
It's very simple. Favorite type of music or last concert you went to?
Oh gosh, the last concert I went to, I think last concert I went to was Trampled by Turtles. I like more like alternative indie music. Yeah.
Okay.
You were just mentioning, sidebar, that your parents went to the Sphere in Vegas.
Yes.
And that is on my list. I really want to. Yeah. You said it looked like it was pretty cool.
Yeah, they had the best time. They saw U2 and they're big fans of U2. They just had a really great time. And I was like nervous because I don't know, like not nervous, but my mom gets like motion sickness, and I was nervous that they were going to get in there and she was going to have to just like bounce.
Yeah.
But no, they said they really like catered it to people who have those, issues, because that's a lot. Like even at IMAX theaters, you're kind of like, whoa. But they had the best time. I definitely want to get to the Sphere at some point.
Yeah, me too. Is it me?
Yep.
TV show or movie that you recommend to friends?
Oh my gosh, these favorite questions are so difficult because I just love. I would say like Arrested Development probably is like my go-to. Yeah.
Not The Bear.
I love The Bear. I really enjoy The Bear.
Guys, stop yelling at each other.
Andy thinks everyone on The Bear yells at each other.
They're also so intense.
I know.
Yeah.
It's serious stuff.
Yeah.
This burger's not going to flip itself. Somebody, chef.
It's not a burger.
You're right.
Corner.
It's a Chicago beef. All right, beverage of choice.
I'm a big water gal.
Water. Okay.
Love water, but are you talking about alcoholic beverage?
Yeah, like it's Friday night. You're going to go out and order a drink.
I really love a spicy margarita.
Okay.
That's Jeff's nickname in the office.
Move on to your last question, sir.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Definitely not a night owl. I will go to bed at like 9 p.m.
Me too.
Yeah, well, it's all that coffee I don't drink now. I don't drink caffeine anymore. So I wake up early, but I do go to bed pretty early. But I feel like my sweet spot with like I exercise in the morning, but I work out, or I like my work is best around like 3 or 4 p.m. I don't know where
because everyone else is crashing.
Yeah, and I'm like, here we go.
You're still going strong.
Yeah.
Things not to say in a job interview. My best work is just between 3 and 4 p.m. There's really no other time. There's about 1 hour a day.
Oh no, I'm not working any of those other hours. It's 3 o'clock. Oh, I guess I should start now. Here we go.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us. We really appreciate all your insights and the way you're sharing knowledge and what you're doing at DTF.com.
I think it's super helpful for us, for the industry. Like it's needed. Anytime there's a new catalyst, like someone's got to help educate. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm happy to be a part of this and happy to have this opportunity to share more about DTF.com and DTF Printing Podcast and DTF Expo. So thank you.
Yeah. So reminder, DTF Expo, February 23rd and 24th in Arizona. So if you're from anywhere that's not around Arizona, get to Arizona in February because the weather is awful in most places in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So do that. You can find information on DTF.com.
Yeah, or DTFexpo.com.
Or DTFexpo.com. So that's it for this episode of The Extended Gamut. Hopefully you learned a few things. I know I did. You can help us by subscribing and sharing this with people you know. We want to hear from you. So share your thoughts, questions, or suggestions for future episodes. Thanks so much for listening.